With 48 of the 104 games already played at the FIFA World Cup 2026, we are seeing some interesting themes emerging after the first two rounds. Today, we are focusing on defending strategies and counter-attacking. So, how teams set up in mid and low blocks, and also counter-attacking. So when they win the ball back, how do they transition to attack? To help us explore these topics, I'm joined by two members of FIFA's technical study group. Former Argentina international Pablo Zabaleta and former Brazil international Gilberto Silva. We will look beyond the results and examine the tactical and technical themes shaping the World Cup so far. And we will finish off by looking at who are the best players so far according to the brand new FIFA Power Rankings. So, Gilberto and Pablo, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us today.
Yes, so let's get straight into it because the effectiveness of defensive blocks has already emerged as quite a key theme after the first two rounds. So we're going to be taking a look at how some of these teams who have used both mid and low blocks, how they've used it in detail. And what's been most interesting, I think, is how teams have had different approaches to using these blocks. So, Gilberto, to start off with you, when we look at some of these teams that have used this mid block, they all applied the principles in different ways. And who for you stands out from what you've seen so far?
Well, follow up Brazil, as compare them from the first foot to the second game. I like very much the shape from the second game, using Casemiro as a pivot in front of the defenders, having Bruno on the right and Paqueta on the left. And eventually, Matheus Cunha became kind of fourth player when they have, just to stand there in the middle block, to trying to get the ball back. But also, the way they move was so important, And for me, was key to have Casemiro there, because they suffered a lot in the first game against Morocco. But this, for me, is like their best formation, to have the good organization and having him at the back, just to organize, the other guys in front of him, having a good communication around them to not suffer that much as in the first game.
Pablo, for you, in terms of low blocks, again, 6 teams with a very different approach. Did any of these teams catch your eye?
I would say Japan, Australia. They've been very effective on defending with those low blocks. And, that was a very effective way, I would say, for them to contain probably that opposition attacking threat, and just by having big numbers around the 18-yard box, defending with short distances between defensive line and midfielders, so working as a unit. And it's been great to watch. And then, like I say, then being also using that low block as a strategy for making those counterattacks, and when they regain the ball from deep positions.
I think what's interesting is what you just said in the latter, which we're going to be going into a lot deeper in how they counter-attack and transition. Let's take a closer look at some teams who have shown strong mid-block organisation. This is about controlling the middle third of the pitch when the team does not have the ball, protecting central spaces and deciding when to press. Gilberto, when you look at how a team uses that mid-block, what shows you that the block is actually working?
What shows is, for me, how it's actually work, because they don't need to run after the player so desperate, they're out of the position. Because if you don't position yourself well in those mid blocks, because you have the other sides, opponents with quality, they will try to find the space between the lines. Nowadays, other games are so compact, If you don't have the right space to cover, doesn't matter the shape of if it's 4-4-2, 4-3, whatever. But it's important to not be so far away from each other, because eventually somebody can lose the ball, and then you have to be there to cover. It's important for them the communication, how they structure themselves in communication. For the guy, especially the guy at the back, if they play like 3 in the middle, have one pivot in front of the defenders, this guy to guide the others, but also he has to be smart, just to make the balance behind them, just to cover in case something happened, that he has to be aware of.
Pablo, we know Morocco are very effective when they use a mid-block. What do you like about how they structure it and activate it?
They've been really, really good, I have to say. Morocco is a team that, out of possession, has been very organised in that mid-block, making it difficult for the teams to play through the middle. If you look at the team shapes, how the two strikers been working together, and especially the two midfielders of then shifting across and just waiting for the ball, forcing you to go into the wide areas and then use that as a trigger to press, and then trying to win the ball back and then, using that first pass to keep the ball, to have the possession, to organize themselves, to spread out, and then we go from there. But it's been a really good team to see how good they've been off the ball, and especially then also with quality players that sometimes you expect them to be good on the ball, but not so much, out of possession. But it's been quite interesting to see how good they've been, as a team, as a unit, defending in those two games.
Okay, so let's now focus on the low block. So teams defending deeper, closer to their own goal and protecting the most valuable spaces, particularly around the penalty area. Gilberto, one thing that Pablo touched on earlier was the patience of teams that is needed. And Japan had a really patient approach against the Netherlands. What stands out for you in why and how they defended?
For me, they were very comfortable doing that because it's part of the game. And they know exactly what they do when they have to defend in low block, but the patience, as Pablo mentioned, was so important because they don't get desperate any time, even though when they are under pressure. They know the position they have to be, the back four, sometimes back five, and the guys in the middle, and but know exactly when they have to use the patience, but knowing exactly when they have to come out to get the ball back and try to get from that risk area, the defensive part. They know exactly what they do, It's like, I think they have done this for such a long.
I would add to Japan, I would say also discipline. Yeah. For me, that was also key for Japan. They see always how well organized they are defensively, constant pressure on the ball when they switch in the attacking teams, switching the ball, how they shift across, they press, come back. And you see all these 10 players, they doing one job, and having that discipline from the Japanese player that is always fantastic to see, really.
It's very synchronized, the way they move, because the ball move from one side to another, but they, one go, the other feels the position from the previous player. I think this, this discipline and patience to do this job and play in the low block, works very, very well for them.
And Pablo, Australia also defended in a low block, but quite differently to Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. If you see Australia, they've been so comfortable. They like to play that way. Even you can see how the amount of players defending inside the box with 7-8 players and making so hard for the attacking team to score from there. And sometimes is obviously it could be some difficult when you're rigging a ball to find then the next pass because that's difficult. But they don't really. If they have to make a clearance, they feel happy with that. If there are moments where they just need to defend because they see they're playing against a team that is forcing them to defend for 20 minutes or 25 minutes, they're happy with that. And that's part of the game. That's good. It's a strategy for teams using those moments to bring everyone together by saying, okay, that's the moment that we have to spend at times just defending. And that's, like I say, in the group stage, all you need is just get result, get points, and that will allow you to go into the next round, which is what all the teams are looking at the moment. So that's been effective for them, and they're happy, and this is great to see.
Yeah. Finally, on the low block, Gilberto, what makes low block defending more critical than mid block defending, and what must work?
everything has to work, otherwise you concede goals. If something, you just lose the concentration. I think when you are defending low block, it's very important to be concentrated. I have seen some teams, having 5 at the back and then concentrate 4 other players in front of them. But, if they're not concentration, lack of it, they lose a little bit of the composition, they can consider goal. What I have been missing so far, because those teams who has been played low block, they have done so well. I don't know if you noticed that, Pablo, not many long distance shots in some of the occasions.
Yeah.
My opinion is because they are so well organized, it made the life for the opponents to give them an opportunity to shoot from outside the box.
Yes.
Maybe in the previous competitions we have seen more on these occasions, not at this moment.
We've looked at teams defending in organised blocks, but the next question is, what happens when they win the ball? Some teams are dangerous because they transition from a settled, organised defensive shape and have a counter-attack strategy. Others are dangerous because they win the ball from counter-pressure, so higher up the pitch and closer to their opponent's goal, meaning they can attack before their opponent can reorganise. Pablo, from the teams we have here, who has shown the clearest threat when transitioning to attack?
Well, we have seen different approaches from teams in counter-attacking, I would say. Some teams defending more deep and going with long balls, but also we have seen teams pressing really aggressively hard at the pitch. As soon as they lose the ball, you see the first reaction of the nearest players around the possessor, how they react, how they regain the ball. And I would say for me, those high recovery balls came from teams like, I would say, Spain. I've been very impressed with USA. I have to say they've been really good in the first 2 games of doing that. Of course, Canada, they did really well. And we know Uruguay. If you look at this is a little bit part of the DNA of them, especially from the coaches, that philosophy of being really good at pressing as soon as they lose to win the ball back and then counter-attack.
So, Gilberto, when a team transitions to attack from their own penalty area and almost from an organised defensive block, what has to happen first?
It's important to have the guys up front in a position to receive the ball. And if you have somebody with good speed, we have seen some players like Kylian Mbappé, Vinicius Junior. It's important, as soon as you have the ball, the sense of urgency of everyone to move forward. And the first pass, is important to find the play in movement up front, and the others follow, because sometimes he can manage to give a nice cross for them to create a chance, an opportunity. They can score a goal, as we have seen a couple of occasions.
So, Pablo, when we look at a team like Norway, for example, how much has their strategy been influenced by having a player like Erling Haaland as their main striker?
Well, obviously for Norway it's huge to have a player like Erling Haaland. I mean, because he does almost everything for the team. Especially after winning the ball back, he gives you the option to make those runs in behind, which is so powerful. So you can a player like Odegaard, let's say, he can play balls in behind for him. Then he also really strong inside the box, where you can put crosses into the box and he will be there. But especially in counter-attacking, those runs from Haaland are crucial for Norway to have that weapon and giving the chance to the Norwegian team to push up and bring all the team forward to the opposition hub.
Now, the second type of transition is very different. This is not about attacking from a settled block. It's about counter-pressing, high recoveries, and exploiting the opponent when the game and their shape is disorganised. Pablo, from your experience, why are high recoveries often so valuable in transition to attack?
Well, I would say that for me, that's key in terms of how close you are from the position goal. That will give you the chance, if you get the ball back in those situations, then you can explode the spaces. Sometimes, obviously, when the team's losing the ball, they can be exposed, there can be spaces to play through balls. into the space, and you create a lot of chances by regaining the ball high up the pitch. So that counterpressing, Spain is part of, I would say, of that DNA of the Spanish team and how good they react after losing the ball, because we know that they are a team that they're really good in possession. They play in short passes, so that will mean that they have like always 5-6 players in very small spaces. So as soon as they lose the ball, they always there. That first, I would say, how switch that that mentality to press, to run forward, then they're running backwards and getting position or tracking back. No, what they do is in those 2-3 first seconds after losing the ball, how they react, how they win the ball back, and then you see the forward players making runs into the space for the midfielders to play those through balls and then create chances from there.
I'm glad you touched on Spain there, because Gilberto, Spain are an excellent counter-pressing team. Apart from what Pablo's touched on, what is it that they do that makes them so effective?
This is part of their game. They know exactly what they do, but also they have quality players to do this, because they want to be high as possible and always propose the game, want to score, want to find some possibility for them to create opportunities. And when they lose the ball, they do it very well. As a possession team, it's not good when you have to run after the ball. And that's why they do it so well in their game. This is part of them. It's natural for every player. Doesn't matter who plays, If they change the players, change a little bit the formation, they make a sub, whatever, the style of play is going to remain.
Another team, Pablo, that have shown a real appetite to get that high pressure on is Ecuador. And they transition quickly as well. What impresses you about their approach?
Yeah, they were really good, especially in the second game. I thought their midfielders been very aware of that. Obviously, they've been so good at recognizing the moment by pressing centrally, especially winning the ball back in central areas where then they could counterattack, and that was especially from Ecuador. For me, Caicedo is a master of that in tackling, but especially reading the game all the time. Just when they are attacking, he's basically always in the right position at the right time to counter-press and then to make those tackles, win the ball back, and then create a chance.
Let's look at FIFA's power rankings powered by Aramco, the data-based end to every argument about who's actually been the best at this World Cup so far. We'll look at attacking, creativity, and defending after round 2. And I will warn you now, there are surprises, especially at the very top of the attacking category. So Gilberto and Pablo, if we are starting off with attacking, who here stands out to you in the top 10?
Some big names in that list, isn't it? Personally, I would say, not surprised Dennis Undav is in the top in that ranking. I think his impact, coming off the bench and contributing 5 of 9 goals from Germany, that was very impressive. Then, well, Messi, Mbappe, we all know those guys. But yeah, nice to see Undav.
It's great that the guys, probably we all expect them to shine in the competition. They have done a great job. The bigger players, they show up and see that, even from the bench as Undav, it's important, to have a team. Not because sometimes, the main players may not work for them on the field, but when you have somebody who come out on the bench and make a huge difference in the certain games, it's very important for the team as a whole.
The question then is, should Undav be starting and not coming off the bench?
Let's see. Maybe strategy for the manager.
It's working for Germany like that, so we'll see.
We will see. Okay, let's move on to creativity. Elise right there at the top. And we've had some interesting kind of gains up there. You can see in 7th place, Lamine Yamal moved up 25 places. What are your thoughts on what we see here?
The quality of him, the first game, he played less, and the second game he played a bit more. We understand more or less, his quality, what he can offer for the team, and it's important because they need him to be in the best shape as possible for the progression of the competition. But I know it's like to see also Olise, what he has done so far for France is something incredible, and I hope it will be very interesting to see the next couple of games of him.
Okay, and lastly, defending. An interesting start. Just if we can start with first place, Derek Cornelius has not moved for the first two rounds. I think that's quite a testament to Canada and to Derek as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, good. That's good to see him at the top in 2 games. That means that he's been solid defensively, doing his job. And of course, we've been talking about Canada, how good they are off the ball, in the way they're defending. So very aggressive, and sometimes it's great to see teams playing like that and having names that they've been solid defensively. Then, I don't know, I would give some credit to Pico Lopez from Cape Verde. I think they got a point against Spain. They drew 0-0, again, one of the strongest teams so far in this competition. Then another point against Uruguay. They've been, I did both games. One against Uruguay, I was at the stadium. I was impressed with Cape Verde defensively. Then Tyler Adams from USA, he's been covering every single inch on the pitch. Has been incredible in the middle of the park. So yeah, but all of them been brilliant. But fair point to all of them.
Gilberto, thoughts on Chris Richards from the US? I mean, the USA have had an impressive tournament so far, up 134 places in 7th place. He's doing really well.
Wow, I was just look at his number, how he jumped to the 7th position. It's great, and it's great to see that he's committed to what they want to offer in this competition. It's great to see that he's helping his team achieve the result they want. And let's see, it's important for me especially, pay more attention to see what he can do even more, because the way they have played in the first games was great, and I'm sure those guys are ready to improve even more from what they have done to go further in this competition.
So that is it from us. My thanks to Gilberto and Pablo for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned with the FIFA Training Centre for more tactical and technical insights from FIFA World Cup 2026. And we look forward to seeing you next time.